The last part of this module covers over the present active indicative verb forms. Mounts describes the components of the verb as being in three parts. We have the stem, we have the connecting vowel, and then we have what we call the primary active suffix. We are not going to learn it the way Mouse teaches it in the textbook. Instead, we are going to learn the forms of the present active indicative by combining the connecting vowel and the primary active suffix together. So the connecting vowel and the primary active suffix together, I just feel that it's easier to learn the suffixes this way with the connecting vowel already combined, and to simply distinguish it from the stem of the verb, and to understand that the present active indicative form is a combination of one component, the stem, plus a second component, the connecting vowel and primary active suffix together. And I'm going to simply, from this point on, call this the suffix. So how do you form the present active indicative mood? You take the stem of the verb and you combine it with the present active indicative suffixes, which are o, ace, a, amen, ete, usi. Can you say that with me? Let's say it again. O, ace, a, amen, ete, usi. So if you take the stem lu, combine it with o, and this is the first person singular present active indicative suffix, luo is how I say I am loosing. And lues is how I say you are loosing. And lue is how I say he, she, or it is loosing. Luamen is how I say we are loosing. Luate is how I say you all are loosing. And luusi, or sin, there's a movable nu here, and I'll explain this in a bit, is how you say they are loosing. This movable nu is a stylistic choice of the writer. The writer can either say they are loosing or use the third person plural form of the present active indicative by adding the suffix usi or usin. You'll see both. So that's why we call it a movable nu. The nu can either come in or drop out. It'll one or the other. There used to be a reason why the nu was there in classical Greek. It was because if the word following after it began with a vowel, the word following after began with a vowel, sometimes the nu was inserted in there for pronunciation's sake. It was easier to say luusin plus agape, or then for you say luusi and have another vowel begin right after that. So, but in Koine Greek, that kind of distinction is no longer in use. Koine Greek does not make a distinction between luusin and luusi. It doesn't follow that classical rule. You might find the movable nu in front of a word that begins with a consonant, not necessarily a vowel. And so therefore, whether the nu is present or not in the form is a stylistic choice of the author. So let's go over these forms. The present active indicative form, using luo as my paradigmatic verb, these forms are luo, lues, lue, luamen, luete, luusi. So I want you to say that with me one more time. Luo, lues, lue, luamen, luete, luusi. And the primary active indicative suffixes are o, ace, a, amen, ete, usi. And Mounts actually has a cute way of trying to remember the present active indicative suffixes. And so if this helps, feel free and unembarrassed to use this method. He recites these suffixes as if they were a cheer used in sports. So if you had a cheerleading squad, they might say O, ace, a, amen, ete, usi. O, ace, a, amen, ete, usi. And that's a very clever way of memorizing the primary active indicative suffix endings. So let's go over one example together, and the other example I'll let you do on your own. Let's look at the word blepo. Now, this is the lexical form. And notice that the lexical form of every verb always is the first person singular, present, active, indicative. That's the form for the lexical. It doubles as the lexical form, or the form that you find the verb in the dictionary. And if knowing my components of the verb, I would divide it into two parts. This is the stem, and then the O is my primary active indicative suffixes. So and this means I am seeing or looking. I am seeing or looking. So if I want to show all the forms, the first person singular, second person singular, third person singular, that'd be I, you, he, she. And my first person plural, second person plural, third person plural, that'd be we, you all, and they. If I want to show those forms, I would take the stem, blep, and I would combine it with the suffix o, ace, a, amen, ete, usi, or sin. So if I were to take the stem blep, combine it with ace, blepace, that would be you are seeing. Blepe, he, she, it is seeing. Blepamen, we are seeing. Blepete, you all are seeing. And blepusi, or sin, they are seeing. So you go ahead and try to fill this out using the word pistuo. Here's your stem, pistu. This is your stem. You're going to add o, ace, a, amen, et, usi. Combine it with this stem. You'll have the forms for pistuo. And pistuo, by the way, means I am believing. And with that, we conclude our lesson.